Welcome to the second episode of the Nerd Skills Growth Lab. Today, I'll be talking about what it really means to stop being a passenger in your own career, especially when it comes to your skill development, and how to use the rest of this year more intentionally. Hi, I'm Shelly. I'm a skill growth coach and founder of Nerd Skills and the Nerd Skills Light Tool. Now, before we get started, I want to give a brief disclaimer. What I'm sharing today is a simplification of general patterns that may or may not show up for you or others. I want you to take what applies to you, disregard what doesn't, and remember that there are always outliers, intricacies, and deeper layers that require a more personalized look. In this episode, we're just scratching the surface with general reasons and patterns. You've probably heard the idea that it takes about 10,000 hours to master a skill. Well, the good news is that's more of a theory than a hard rule, especially when you look at the real learning data. For example, ATD's 2026 State of the Industry report found that the average employee spends about 16 to 17 hours a year on formal training. Now, that's only a tiny fraction of those 10,000 hours. So, if formal learning is just one small piece, how do most of us actually approach our development? More often than not, we wait for our company's performance conversations, and those usually take place about once or twice a year. Mid-year reviews are designed to make sure your energy is going towards the right work and that you're aligned to the organization's strategy and goals. Now, if you're off track, a mid-year review gives your leader a chance to help you recalibrate and align. Professional associations like SHRM describe performance reviews as serving two big purposes. The first is to evaluate performance accurately, and the second is to develop skills that match your current job task. However, the quality and depth of those performance review conversations can vary a lot. This is why Nerd Skills focuses on helping you walk into those meetings with a clear skill first agenda instead of waiting to see what comes up in the moment. In this episode, I want to talk about why you can't afford to stay in the passenger seat of your own career growth and why waiting on HR or your manager to drive your skill growth is a risky strategy, and what it can look like when you take ownership for the rest of this year. This is the same approach we use in the Nerd Skills coaching, supporting you to become the driver of your career growth with a skills first growth plan built around observable, actionable, and repeatable steps. Now, when you're a passenger in the seat of your career growth, you're waiting for the next review cycle to talk about your skill development. You are hoping your manager brings up growth opportunities. And frankly, you're signing up for whatever learning programs are available to you, even if they don't build the skills you actually need. Now, to be clear, you should absolutely participate in those things, but participation alone does not enable you to develop your skills and grow your career. If you're not clear on what you want or how you learn best, your skill growth ends up being driven by whatever the company needs, not where you're trying to go. And that's because your development naturally sits mostly in your company's hands. It's shaped by whatever your company decides to measure, schedule, and fund. Now let's talk about HR for a moment. Even in a well resourced organization, HR rarely sits around with extra time and unlimited budget. Depending on your company structure, HR might be a team of one, a small generalist group, or a specialized center of excellence. But in most cases, they're balancing multiple people priorities at once, not just your development. So, what does that mean? In everyday terms, this just means a lot of HR led development is designed around organizational needs first. So, think things like succession planning, leadership pipeline, and critical roles. There might be talent programs or leadership development tracks, but they're often reserved for a small group of employees in certain levels or critical positions. Your company may list tuition reimbursement as a development path, but the benefit policy is usually built around an older model of learning, the multi year degree programs, while the skills you actually need are in shorter, more applied formats like boot camps, micro credentials, or focused short courses. A lot of companies only see a small percentage of employees actually using the tuition reimbursement. There could be many reasons why the utilization of this benefit is low. One of the reasons that comes to mind is that degrees can be expensive and time consuming, and a lot of the employees don't stay long enough to see a full return on that long term investment. You recall earlier, I said that time was a big factor when it comes on to HR. The lack of time is consistently one of the biggest barriers for HR delivering meaningful development experiences. HR can design the frameworks, but they can't see all the intricacies of your day to day, and they don't control your calendar. Many HR teams are also under pressure to show impact on leadership readiness and key roles. And this just means a lot of the development focus goes towards people tagged as high potential or ready now for critical positions. Unfortunately, that doesn't automatically include everyone who wants to grow. So HR can create structures, but they can't be the sole driver of your career growth and development. And if you wait for HR to design the perfect, fully customized plan that fits your life, your learning preference, your goals, you're going to be waiting for a very long time. Even in companies that genuinely care about your growth, there's going to always be limits to how personalized your development can be from the HR side. Nerd Skills Coaching is built for that reality. It gives you an external skill first growth plan that can complement your performance review conversations, whether or not your company has a formal program for you. Now, let's delve into managers. I'm going to say something a little controversial. Okay, it's not that controversial. A lot of managers are promoted because they were strong individual contributors. But hey, they were ready for the next steps and they earned their role. But that doesn't automatically mean they were trained to develop their people. Research backs this up. Manager capability is a major gap, especially around coaching and feedback. I mean, studies and surveys from groups like Gallup, Harvard Business Review, the Center for Creative Leadership highlight that many managers struggle to give clear, specific developmental feedback, even though employees say that's exactly what they want more of. Now, some managers do try to support your development by sending you to training, but they're limited by whatever's on the corporate training menu, whether that be generic leadership courses or standardized workshops that may not match how you prefer to learn or address fully the specific skills you're trying to build. On top of that, your manager is under their own pressure. I mean, they're responsible for their team results, navigating changes, managing headcount, and trying to grow their own career at the same time. Even if your manager genuinely cares about your growth, there are structural and time constraints that they can't control. Now, none of this means you shouldn't partner with your manager. In fact, collaborating with them is usually the best case scenario. But if you treat them as the sole owner of your career growth and skill development, you're handing off one of the most important parts of your career to someone who may not have the time, tools, or support to fully own it. Now, let's talk about what driving your career growth actually looks like. Well, it starts with direction, and we don't want that direction to be generic. Saying things like, I want to be a better leader is a start, but we want to attach specifics to it. At Nerd Skills, that's where we start. Naming and identifying a clear skill first direction so your growth plan has something concrete to aim at, like your one on ones, your IDP discussions, and even your performance reviews. Now, not everything has to run through your employer. There's a real benefit to creating your own external growth opportunities. These opportunities help you build your skills while reducing the disconnect between the autonomy you're told you have and the decisions you actually control at work. For example, you might be encouraged to quote unquote own your development, but the final yes or no on budget, projects, and stretch assignments still sit with the higher ups. External growth opportunities can look like a short course, a community of practice, volunteering your skills with a nonprofit or small business, or even a personal project that gives you space to experiment and learn in a low pressure environment. These are ways that you can keep moving even when internal options are limited. So I'm challenging you this week to choose one small way to get yourself out of the passenger seat and into the driver's seat of your career growth. Remember, Rome wasn't built in a day. Choose one small step, and that could be something as simple as having an intentional growth conversation with your manager, or saying yes to a stretch opportunity, or even exploring external growth opportunities that excite you. And if you want support identifying the external skill first growth plan, reach out to us. That's exactly the kind of work we do through the Nerd Skills Coaching. And before we end, you know I love a two-way dialogue. Drop in the chat. What's one way you're going to get out of the passenger seat and into the driver's seat of your career growth this year?